Timberlake students, so good to see you, even though it's through the phone. Hey, you can probably tell I'm recording right now in my office. The red drape gives it away, but so glad that you're tuning in online. If you haven't had the opportunity to, make sure you hit the link in our bio. There's some great ways for you to get connected. We got some great content. We'd love to be a part of your journey and walk with you through that. And there's some next right steps and help you in your next right steps. But hey, we're in a series right now called Family Matters. We're wrapping it up today. And we've been looking at family and breaking down family and the dynamic of family and the different challenges and difficulties that come with that. And how do we go about that and handle that? And what does God ultimately say about that? And so my hope is over the next couple minutes or so, you would feel encouraged, you would feel uplifted, but you'd also have some things you can take away and apply to your own personal family life. But hey, did any of you guys ever used to have sleepovers growing up? I think most of us probably have, but that was one of my favorite things. I always looked forward to sleepovers. It was the best thing ever. And I love going to friends' house on Fridays and hanging out, and you just walk in, it smells great, it's clean. There's cookies, there's food, you just play video games all day and there's no stress, play some basketball, maybe some football. Life was just great, or whatever you might do that you love doing. Life felt so great, but when you wake up the very next day and you got to go back home, there's just this feeling, you're like, oh, I don't want to go back. And you're like, oh, it's so much better there, and that feels so much more family-y. Is that even a word? Just things feel great over there. And sometimes we can get trapped in these thoughts and these emotions of, hey, this family has it so much better than my family, and we feel like our family doesn't live up to the standards that other families do, and we start comparing. Maybe for you, you watch a lot of shows and you see families on there and you're like, oh, they have it so much better. Maybe you got some neighbor friends and it feels like their family's so perfect. It feels like everything's put together. It feels like there's never arguing. Their kids always get steak for dinner and you're getting PB&Js for dinner. By the way, PB&Js slap, all right? So don't complain if you got PB&Js. Or maybe for you growing up, you quite frankly, you didn't come from a typical family background. Maybe for you, you grew up in a foster home and you went from home to home and you never really had a true family. You have the thought of it, but you just never experienced that. And you've had or I should say, it's had its own challenges and difficulties. And so one thing I'd like to encourage you today, and I think we've got to be reminded of that, is that family is not perfect. People aren't perfect, so family isn't going to be perfect. And there's times where our family, because it's not perfect, is not going to be able to live up to certain standards or ideas that we have. And it's not going to be able to fill certain gaps in our life that we had hoped it to fill. And so when we're in that situation and we're like, my family doesn't quite fill these areas that I need, what do we do? What does God say about that? How do we handle that? How do we go about that? Well, the good news is that God has been dealing with dysfunctional, crazy, broken families from the beginning of time. And so you and I are no different. He can work through that. And so I want us to look at the story of these two friends who came from broken, dysfunctional families. And quite frankly, they should have been rivals. But they became the best of friends. And I want us to look at this story because I think there's some things we can notice through their story that we can apply to our own lives and our own family lives. There's these two guys, David and Jonathan, and they both were supposed to become kings, and Jonathan was up next, but God had different plans, and they became like best buds. And so I want us to look today to 1 Samuel chapter 18. This is what it says. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in the spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Look, I don't know what kind of covenant they made. I don't know if they had a secret handshake or they pinky promise or whatever. But one thing I know is it says that he loved David as himself. He cared about him. They became great friends. And the story would go on to say that, in fact, Jonathan saves David's life. He saves David's life. And so I want us to look to the very next chapter. This is what it says. Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David, but Jonathan had taken a great liking to David and warned him. My father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I'll speak to him about you and will tell you what I find out. I look at this story and I can't help but to see some things. Jonathan cared about David. He cared about David. He saw the potential in David, and he even saved David's life. They developed this friendship that was like no other. And how could this be when they should have been rivals? How could this be when they both came from crazy broken families? But the truth is that both of their families there were areas that their families couldn't fill. And so what they did is they became friends, and they began to develop this bond and this friendship that even though they weren't family by blood, they were essentially family. They were brothers. They cared about each other. They loved each other. And so one thing I would like to encourage you with today is that it matters to have more people than your family. It matters to have more people than your family. And the reality is that, like I said, family's not perfect. So there's going to be areas in your life where you're going to need people. You're going to need community. Young people, you are going to need people to step into your life. And sometimes it's easier said than done. You're going to have to go out and develop some of those friendships. You're going to have to seek that. Here we have David and Jonathan, two crazy family backgrounds, should have never been friends. Yet they developed this bond. They developed this friendship like no other to support each other and care for each other. And I think all of us can sit here and say, we need those kind of relationships in our family. We need those kind of relationships. We want that. When family feels like it's not cutting it, we need more people in our life. And so I just want to give you 2 quick points. And the first one is this, is focus on widening your circle. I think too often we stay so enclosed, and we're so afraid to go out our way and meet new people and talk to new people. We're so afraid to admit that we need people in our lives. And the truth is that we all need people. We need friends. We need community. You need people that encourage you, that uplift you, that support you. You need that. Maybe for you, you need that accountability. I would argue that all of us need accountability. And so one of the great ways, guys, is getting connected in a group. Crews, high schoolers, crews, groups. We would love to be a part of your life. And there's some amazing small group leaders that take time out of their schedule to be there and support you and to help you and guide you. And if you'd like to be a part of that, you can message us, and we'd love to help you out and connect you with a group. But we need to develop those kind of relationships in our life. We got to understand that we got to focus on widening our circle. We can't just stay together like this and expect things to happen. We can't stay so enclosed and afraid and not willing to step out and widen our circle. What kind of people do you need in your life? Have you asked yourself that? What kind of people do I want in my life? Who do I want speaking over my life? And the second thing is this. The second point is this, is you got to communicate. I look at this story and I see Jonathan, he's letting David know, he's communicating with him. Hey, I care about you, and I'll show you this by letting you know this is what's going to happen. Saul's out to get you, so you got to hide, but I'll be there and I'll support you and I'll help you and I'll guide and I'll be there for you. But I just want to give you a heads up. When's the last time you've told someone in your life that you need them? When's the last time you've asked for a mentor? When's the last time you've told a friend, hey, I need you to be an accountability partner for me? When's the last time you communicated that? And so, my prayer, my hope for you is that you'd step out today and you'd say, hey, I realize I need more people than my family. I need some people in my life. And so, let's widen our circles today, young people, and let's communicate. Let's let people know that we need them. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're encouraged. I hope you're reminded of the love that God has for you and what He wants. He wants to put people in your life to be just like family. And so we love you. We hope you have an incredible week, Timberlake students, and we'll see you guys next week.